All right, welcome everyone to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for March 20th through the 26th of 2017. And this is using the actual size and location of the constellations, which is different from mainstream astrology. So if you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the description down below for more information on this, because the signs are different. And when we get into the individual signs, you'll want to make sure you're watching this for the right sign. So first we're going to look at this collectively for everyone, and then we'll go into the specific signs after this. And you can click the links down in the comment section to take you directly to your signs after this general portion. So let's go and have a look collectively. The first thing is that we are entering this week in the third quarter phase, which is essentially an integration time. What that means is about a week ago we had the full moon. And during full moons we gain awareness, we gain some sort of insights, or something comes ahead, something cultivates. And so this week, particularly the first half, it is about taking some steps towards implementing whatever those insights or things that cultivated were since last week. So usually with the third quarter, we're willing to do that. And I think collectively we are. We're willing to do that. We're willing to take those steps. And it is a fantastic first few days of the week to do just that. Especially because Mars is in Aries, and although it is a very dreamy time, which we'll talk about, you know, we still have the Sun, Venus retrograde, and Mercury all in Pisces, which is very much about connecting to the intuitive side to life. But with that going on, Mars is in Aries. So when it does come to taking action, when it does come to our personal needs, when it comes to being direct in our life, there is great energy to do that. That can be a great source of motivation, drive, and through taking steps, building that sort of snowball energy of cultivating, again, those personal wants and needs of ours, whatever it is we're focused on. So, so that helps this whole third quarter phase, is just knowing that it can be a very good time for action and taking steps with Mars and Aries. All right, so that's the first few days. There's no major aspects going on Monday through Wednesday, but then once we get into about Thursday through Friday, we do have Mercury going into a T-square with Pluto and Jupiter. So Mercury, the planet of our mind, the planet of our its practical mind, and the planet of communication, and the planet of our routine, is going through a challenge here collectively these couple days. Now with Pluto, this can be perhaps feeling a bit of a clash. Maybe there's something very deep with the mind, or some information that's deep. Or maybe there's a clash with communication or correspondence or the routine or something like that. It's just a bit of friction here collectively. So the best way of working with Pluto is to get deep, is to get into the side of life that might involve facing some fears, that might involve getting vulnerable, open and deep and raw and real and true. And, it's challenging to do that usually with an aspect like this, but the more willing we are to do that, in healthy ways, of course, to really connect to what matters most in life, to have openness with life and with ourselves and with relationships, then this becomes very constructive. And for example, if it's the communication, it's the vulnerability, the openness there that can help us communicate ourselves in deep, raw, and real ways that can be meaningful and can be constructive with this square. Maybe it's the routine. Maybe we're wanting to make some changes with the routine here. Or maybe we're doing some deep research, using the mind to uncover some hidden things about ourselves or about our life, or whatever it might be. And again, we'll look at this specifically for your signs. But getting deep, getting raw, real, as best as we can be a great way of working with that square. Now, the opposition to Jupiter side to it, which will probably feel more so on Friday, is that there can be a bit of pendulum swing with the mind and communication routine. In other words, we might be a bit over-optimistic. We might be under-optimistic. We might be, seeing the possibilities, and then we may not be seeing the possibilities. Buoyant, non-buoyant. So there's this swing usually with Jupiter oppositions, and the best way of working with it, of course, with all oppositions, is balance. And so knowing, for example, that if there is something you're open-minded about or you're seeing as possible, great, cultivate that. But then also consider the practical. Consider the other side of it, which is Mercury, which is actually putting in the work or putting in the actual practical, tangible side to it as well. So we're not just dreaming with Jupiter, because that's what Jupiter loves to do. Expand, see possibilities. It's all theoretical, which is great, but the theoretical needs the practical, needs the work, and that's Mercury. And then that can help balance out what might be an over-under extreme with, again, that optimism or possibilities there. All right, so that's those 2 days in particular. Those are a couple ways of working with it, but again, challenging ourselves with our minds, both with possibilities and depth, challenging ourselves with the communications with the same things, and again, maybe the routine or anything we're doing on a daily level in terms of having both depth and an open mind in balanced ways. All right, so then as we get into Saturday, we do have the Sun going over Venus retrograde in Pisces. So again, there's all this receptive energy. We've been learning a lot about this. With Venus retrograde, particularly about our relationships or the whole realm of relationships in our life. We're going through this whole reconsideration, reevaluation with this. And also the things we just simply value in life and enjoy in life. It's the simple life, or it's finances for some of us. It's more of this tangible, material enjoyment stuff. So when it comes to our relationships, when it comes to our values, all of this is going through a reflection right now. And with the Sun over Venus, this can give us some insight. Now, the insight can actually be quite strong because the Sun is a very powerful, life force energy. And for example, if you were to look up at the sky, you wouldn't see Venus because Venus would be engulfed by the Sun with this aspect. So what that essentially means is that there can be a lot of passion or ideas or interest or the self-expression when it comes to relationships or when it comes to the things we want to enjoy in life. And with that, very strong energy, it is very important to stay as balanced as we can with it, to bring some extra attention on the self so that that life force doesn't become too powerful, or that we're operating unconsciously, because sometimes, again, the Sun, which is the passion, is engulfing Venus, right? It's taking the dominant, energy here. So remembering, reconsidering, the whole stuff about relationships, about cooperation, about others' needs, about, give and take and all this kind of stuff. And when it comes to our values, connecting to our values, enjoying them, having gratitude, bringing in the Venus quality of this so the passions don't just take the forefront, I think is an excellent way of working with that. It's a neutral aspect, but again, there can be a lot of energy coming through about it. And so, remembering the Venus, which is cooperation and gratitude and all that, both with values and relationships, is a great way of working with this. And like I said, it can be very fun actually in relationships. It can be very creative, very imaginative. Again, this is all in Pisces, so very intuitive. We can be very compassionate with this, very understanding, and and maybe even some more insights about what we value and who we value in our lives. All right, so that's Saturday. Then as we get into Sunday, that Mercury that was in a harsh aspect earlier in the week will then go over Uranus, which again is neutral but much more harmonious. And so this is where over Sunday we might have some new ideas. I might be able to think outside the box. This is a very progressive type of thinking, actually very intuitive thinking, again in Pisces. But there might be some new ideas, some new insights. And when it comes to the routine, maybe mixing that routine up, wanting to try something new and different, or how we can maybe change our daily life in such a way that it's a greater reflection of our freedom and of what we're about and who we are and all of that. All right. In many ways, it starts a new chapter with this, as all conjunctions do, involving innovation, progressiveness, and again, more freedom with ourselves and our daily life. In fact, both of these aspects, these two conjunctions over the weekend, are new beginnings. With the Venus one, it's certainly a new beginning with, again, all the stuff we're reconsidering about our values and relationships. And with Mercury, a new beginning with our mind, our routine, and having a bit of freedom with that. All right, so that is the week in a nutshell. The way I would sum this up is that, we've got that third quarter phase, these first few days, really good for taking whatever steps we may feel like we're guided to, maybe in regards to the insights we had last week. Then a bit of challenge here, Thursday and Friday, of how to integrate the mind, the communication, and the routine in healthy ways with both openness and, really both openness of connecting to the deeper sides of life, and then openness of what's possible, and then bringing in that practical side to it as well. Then as we get into the weekend, a new beginning about relationships and maybe some passions about that or about our values, and then a new beginning about some ideas and something new we've been thinking about, and again, so we can have more freedom in our life. All right, so that's the general forecast. Let's go ahead and look at this individually for each of the signs. I do want to mention that this week I am going to try something new and different. Actually, it's something I did a while back, so some of you might remember this, but I'm going to divide up the forecasts into 4 segments. All right, for each of the signs, there's going to be 4 segments. The first one is going to be self, which is going to highlight the general theme for your sign and everything that does have to do with yourself. Then the next segment will be about your finances. This is a very commonly asked question, common concern about astrology, so we'll look at the finances for the week. And then we'll get into the work, which will be your career and your productive life for the week. And then we'll end the reading with your relationships, what's going on in that department. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. You can click the links down in the comment section next to your signs. I do recommend watching this for your sun, moon, and ascendant sign. And there's a calculator down below to find your moon and ascendant if you don't know what those are. And again, this is using the different system, the different size and location of the constellation. So if you are new, be sure to check out that calculator as well to find out what your sidereal sign is. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this in more detail. All right, welcome Aries to your weekly forecast. So let's go ahead and first have a look at the general reading here for you for the self. This is very much Mars in your first house. So even though there's a lot of receptive energy going on for you still, again, you got all these planets in your 12th house. Really good for getting some rest and relaxation or getting in touch with your spiritual self. Or even deep psychological self. There is a lot of energy for you to be cultivating your personal needs right now at the moment. Mars in your first house, Mars in Aries. Very strong here, very good for cultivating those things that you are intent on, whether they're your goals, your wants, your needs, your intentions, and anything else that does require moving things forward and maybe taking some physical action on matters. Now, in terms of the financial sector, this is particularly Venus at work here. Again, in your 12th house, there may have been some uncertainty about this these past weeks, actually for quite some time now, over a month. And Venus has been retrograde these past few weeks, which also suggests that maybe the whole financial stuff is going through some sort of reconsideration or redoing. So whether it's your investments or whatever it is good to just know that this is part of a spiritual process, actually, of letting go and detaching, and the things that you want to perhaps control or really take ownership over, and then sort of delegate that to your intuition. All right, so it should be a very good time to be listening to your intuition when it comes to this whole financial material stuff. And maybe even too, because Venus is retrograde, redoing the budget, redoing some things here to cultivate this area. All right, then that Saturday conjunction with the sun and actually, let me go ahead and put that back. With the sun and Venus on Saturday may give you some awareness about this financial stuff, may even help you learn more about these values, and there might be something new actually starting with that, particularly about maybe how you can get into the more passionate side of really enjoying what the finances or what the money actually gives you. It's usually what happens with the second house, is we end up connecting with the essence of what it is that we truly value. And the sun over Venus can certainly help you do that on Saturday. All right, now in terms of your work, this is the Mercury. So like I said, Thursday through Friday, Mercury is in that T-square. And Mercury is also in your 12th house. So there might be some, again, uncertainty or some things you can be doing with your work, maybe working a bit behind the scenes, as it's been very important for you to do so. Maybe some of you getting into the more compassionate and understanding side of your routine or something, or your work, something like that. But with the square, the extra emphasis will be Thursday through Friday, where you want to bring the extra attention to the work, right? And maybe again challenge yourself with a bit of that transformation there. Maybe there's some changes, or maybe there's some things at work that might be clashing or something like that. So that openness and depth can really help you facilitate a deeper connection with your work, maybe making some changes with that work as well. And then with the opposition up to Jupiter, not forgetting that, you've had a lot of opportunities, this past at least 6 months with Jupiter in your 6th house to cultivate your work or your routine or daily stuff. And although Jupiter's retrograde, he's been retrograde for about a month now, that does mean that there's a lot of things you're reconsidering and rehashing with the work. Even though that's going on, there are still potentials that through the reworking, through the re-examination of this area, you can be cultivating more of those possibilities. And you'll likely find a lot of the work stuff, if it is more reflective for you or you're redoing it, early June when Jupiter goes direct, you'll probably notice a lot of that stuff starting to move forward again for you. And then on Sunday, when Mercury goes over Uranus at the end of the week, there might be some new ideas about your work, or maybe some of you are doing something new and different with it, or you're mixing up the routine with it or something like that. And a lot of you, in terms of your career, has recently gone through a transformation, with Saturn going over that galactic center these past few weeks. And that's going to be the theme of the year too. Your structures, your career and all that is really getting restructured at the moment. And I think the more willing you are to do that, that can also facilitate the process. All right, so that's the work sector. In terms of your relationships, that's going to be Venus for you. Again, those are all going through a reconsideration, re-examining your whole realm of relationships. And in the 12th house, maybe where there can be a bit more understanding or compassion or connecting to your relationships in a more intuitive and spiritual way. So all of that stuff you're learning about with the retrograde, generally speaking. And on Saturday with the Sun conjunct Venus, again, there can be some new awareness, some new things about having a bit of fun, a bit of passion. Some of you quite romantic or dreamy in that sense with the relationship stuff. In either case with the Sun, it can be perhaps fun or exciting or expressive on Saturday involving that department. All right. And if it's not directly in a relationships, maybe it's just an insight or some sort of passion about the whole perspective of relationships in your life. All right, Aries. So that is the weekly forecast for you. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. If you would like to see how these planets are configured for your personal chart, be sure to get in touch for a personal reading using the link down below. But have a great one. Thank you again for all of your support, and I will see you all next time. Take care. All right, Taurus, let's have a look at your weekly forecast here. So first things first, your ruler Venus is retrograde in the 11th house. A lot of you are still going through this sort of reflection or reconsideration or redoing some of these aspirations in your life. For some of you, for all of you to some degree, it is about your future things, like your hopes and wishes in general for the future. It's what the 11th house is about, but it's also about your sense of community. So a lot of you may be reconsidering that side of things, whether it's with your organizations you're a part of, your community, any communities you're a part of, or your network circles like your friends and things like that. So there's a lot of emphasis in this area, but it is about the reconsideration of that. And while your ruler is still Venus for the next few more weeks, it is still good to kind of go within, be adaptive, flexible, and just see what new information is coming your way regarding both yourself and whatever these aspirations are that you're very much, I think, focused on right now at the moment. Now, in terms of the whole financial sector, this is going to be seen by Mercury, who is in that T-square, like I was saying, Thursday through Friday. So there can be a bit of clash with this whole financial sector or with investments or something like that. Or maybe it's more internal with your sense of self-worth. But whatever it is about making perhaps some changes or getting deeper or facing some fears regarding some of this. And as you face the fears, you will find that you do want to make the changes. And even too about balancing possibilities and potentials with all that in terms of the Jupiter opposition. So some of you might actually be very optimistic about that, maybe on Friday about finances or something. But then not, or one or the other. Maybe some of you are just not. It depends on your personal chart, but usually there's a bit of a swing here. So it is about, again, seeing the possible and the practical when it comes to the whole financial stuff. Also when it comes to these aspirations, because that's really what's going on, is all this stuff you're working on with these future things can be cultivating your finances, but maybe for whatever reason, Thursday and Friday, just taking a bit of work or some change and some facing some fears that can help facilitate that process. All right, so that takes us to the work sector in terms of that's Mercury as well. Or excuse me, not Mercury, Venus. Venus is your sixth house ruler there. So with Venus retrograde, just like we were talking about with yourself when it comes to your work, there's also some things you can be redoing, rehashing, maybe trying some new things with your work, and just being adaptive and flexible in the process. And I think the more willing you are to do that, it can be great. When Venus goes over the sun on Saturday, like you could be feeling very expressive and very passionate, actually. But maybe some things involving your work, maybe some new insights about that. Some of you may be passionate about the work, and using that energy that I think you could have could be really good to cultivate anything on that daily level on Saturday. All right, and then as we get into, let's see, let's go to the relationship sector. So Mercury, again, when it comes to just like the finances we were talking about, Mercury does rule the 7th house of yours, so, or excuse me, your 5th house. So when it comes to the whole, I'm going to have to do this again. I need to mark this down. All right, Taurus, let's have a look at your weekly forecast. So first things first, looking at your ruler Venus, she is retrograde and she is in your 11th house. This is the house of your aspirations. So there's a lot of energy, in fact, for your aspirations, future things right now at the moment. You got your ruler, the sun, Mercury there. You're going to have a new moon there actually next week, some new beginnings with all this. But for some of you, it's your aspirations, such as your personal hopes and wishes for the future. Others, maybe you're getting very involved with community things or your network circles or your friends or something like that. But with Venus retrograde, you are going through this reconsideration of things at the moment. And so that's exactly what you want to do this week, is just kind of continue to rethink things, redo some things, and just be flexible and adaptive in terms of where things are taking you with all these aspirations, right? Or group things if you're involved with that. So so that's the gist with your ruler retrograde at the moment. For the next few weeks, just sort of still rethinking and reconsidering some things and being as flexible as you can. Now, in terms of the Saturday conjunction with your ruler and the sun, could be feeling quite expressive maybe over the weekend, maybe quite creative, imaginative. Yeah, you could, I don't know, have a lot of that passion there for whatever reason, or maybe there's some new insight about what you're passionate about or about what you like to express and create and get into that. Maybe even fun and playful and entertaining side of life. Or maybe, maybe it's not major, but maybe on Saturday you just do something fun and entertaining. Could be that for sure. So let's look at this in terms of the finances. We've got Mercury, the ruler of your second, in the 11th. So a lot of the stuff you are working on with your aspirations does involve the whole financial sector. So continuing with those aspirations can certainly facilitate the finances. But Thursday through Friday, Mercury is going to be in that T-square. So there's some challenge with this area this week. With Pluto in particular, I think facing some fears, if it's like that for you, or some of you making some changes that may require facing some fears or seeing things quite deeply with this area. And yeah, making the changes there, and maybe some of you quite literally getting into the budget or something like that to help you restructure this area. You're just restructuring the way you view the whole financial material sector. So challenge yourself with that this week. Also know that yes, there are potentials and possibilities with the whole financial stuff, but balance again with what might be an over-under extreme with that, seeing both the possible and the practical. All right. Then as we get into the, let's talk about the work sector. So regarding your work, you got Venus in the 11th house, just like we were talking about for yourself. So yeah, all this future aspiration stuff is very much involving your work as well. Okay, so with Venus retrograde, a lot of you are redoing your work, redoing your, the details of it, or your craft, or, your career, or something like that. And for the next few weeks, you want to be as flexible and adaptive as possible. Just try a bunch of new things with the work. But on Saturday, there might be something new about a new way of getting maybe creative with your work, or there's some new insight or some passions or something like that, with that conjunction with the sun. And so listening to that and then bringing in a bit of that creative energy, if you're feeling it, or passion or self-expressive energy into it. If you're not working on Saturday, it's just maybe a new insight about all this that, again, you can try with the retrograde. Try new things, be flexible with that area as well. And again, all that career, work stuff is about these future aspirations. So as you're reconsidering what is possible in the future, I think it is very much helping and facilitating the whole work sector also. All right, so that takes us to the relationship side of things. Mars, your 7th house ruler, is in the 12th. So, these past few weeks, there has been this more watery energy about your relationships. Maybe connecting to them in a more spiritual way or more receptive way, or maybe you're understanding more about yourself subconsciously or spiritually in regards to relationships. So it is a spiritual thing here, and I think it's very personal. So as you dive deep with yourself, because you definitely have the motivation and drive to do that now, to dive deep with yourself psychologically or spiritually, or for some of you, maybe you're working a bit more behind the scenes. Or getting things done in a bit more receptive way. But anyways, when it comes to relationships, understanding that this is a part of the chart that it's more about letting go and detaching and allowing everything to come to you in divine timing. So I think the more willing you are to do that in relationships, I think that can be great. For those of you on a romantic, who want to know more about this on a romantic level, Mercury is your 5th house ruler. And so although there might be a bit of clash with the whole romantic side of things on that Thursday and Friday, once we get into Sunday, once we have that conjunction with Mercury over Uranus on Sunday, maybe something new and different with the romance. And if it's not romantic, maybe it's just a bit of playfulness in your relationships, easygoingness, fun, and just mixing things up a little bit can be quite exciting in the relationship sector, generally speaking. All right, so Taurus, have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your support. If you would like a personal reading looking at these planets for the rest of the year, be sure to get in touch for that. There's a link down in the comment section. But have a great one, and I will see you all next time. Take care. Geminis, let's have a look at your weekly forecast. So first with yourself here, Mercury, your ruler, is up there at the top of your chart. So a lot of emphasis right now on either your career or your productive life or your public life. And so there's great energy there with the sun. You're going to have a new beginning with this next week, in fact. But yeah, with your ruler here, it's really emphasizing this. So great time to be cultivating career, productive things at the moment. I think that's certainly the major theme of things at the moment. Now, of course, your ruler is going to be in that T-square Thursday through Friday, so there might be some deep things, maybe a bit of clash or something Thursday, Friday. But again, it is about getting into the deeper, raw, real truth of things. And that might be involving relationships for you, because it does involve Pluto in your 7th house. And might even involve maybe balancing some things that you are doing with your career and your personal life, right? It's about balance with career and personal life, with your ruler opposing up to Jupiter on Friday, suggesting things like home, family, and health can be some good things to kind of implement into what can be, again, a very productive part of your life at the moment, or at least part of the year. Now, in terms of the financial sector, we do have the moon in the 3rd quarter phase. So this early part of the week can be very good for you to take some action steps towards cultivating anything in the financial or material realm with that. And as we go through the week, again, we're going to be at the ending of this last lunar cycle. So this usually does mean a more lowering energy with the financial material stuff. And then once you have the new moon next week, then I think at that point, you'll start to notice maybe some new things, as there is once a month, typically, some sort of new beginning or something new starting to cultivate with the whole financial or investment or material side of things. Now, in terms of your work, this is going to be seen mostly by the Jupiter transit. Again, there's this opposition here, really emphasizing that, yes, it's a great time for your career, great time for your productive life, but then just remembering that balance with your health and your personal life and all of that. And that's really what's been needed, because Jupiter rules your 10th, and Jupiter's down here at the 4th is saying that right now you got to really get your structures in order, your foundations like your health or your home life or your personal life, in order to cultivate a lot of the work and career stuff to the utmost. And so doing that this week, it can be fantastic. And again, you'll probably notice that there are some new things starting to shape up with all these conjunctions in the 10th house. On Saturday, you might gain some insight about the career or something like that, or maybe on Sunday, some unique and different ideas, trying something new with all of that. And that's going to set the stage for the new beginnings with the career next week. All right, in terms of the relationships, this is seen by Jupiter mostly, so there is some balance needed again with the whole relationship sector here on mostly over the Friday time period. And so knowing that since Jupiter is retrograde, you are reconsidering, rethinking a lot of the whole relationship stuff, and have been for some time now. So just continue to be adaptive and flexible with this whole area. Again, it's about getting into the emotional and personal side of things with Jupiter in your 7th, but continuing to learn, continuing to be flexible, and then remembering that balance there with whatever it is you might be thinking about or involved in actually cultivating regarding relationships can be important around Friday. All right, so that is the week in a nutshell, Gemini. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. And of course, if you'd like a personal look at your chart for the rest of the year, be sure to get in touch for a reading. There's a link down in the comment section for that. But have a great one, and I will see you all next time. Take care. Cancers, let's have a look at your weekly forecast. So let's first look at the moon here, looking at your ruler. So we're entering into this week in the third quarter phase, which means really good time for you to take some action steps. It's a good time to challenge yourself, as it often is, but I think willing to do this could be good for actually implementing some things that maybe you've been gaining the insight to do since maybe the past week or few weeks. So good there to challenge yourself these first few days, and then as we get through the second half of the week, probably more of the lowering energy. We're going to be in the balsamic phase, which is the ending of the last lunar cycle, which means it's good for you to kind of get that rest and relaxation or that intuitive time before what will be new beginnings for you, as there often is once a month. But that'll be during the new moon next week. And a lot of that will have to do with where you've been very much focused at the moment, which is on possibilities in your life or your belief systems. Some of you are getting involved with higher learning or spirituality or philosophy. Some of you are maybe even doing some travel and adventure or thinking about that. Or dealing with things abroad or marketing or something like that. So whatever this more expansive stuff is, you're going to have a new beginning with this next week, but there's so much energy here, I think, throughout the week, continuously building these new insights and new perspectives that will be laying the foundation for the new beginnings in this area around the corner. So very good for that open mind, very good for accessing that adventurous spirit if you are guided to. Now, in terms of the finances, again, the North Node is in your second house, so this whole year is really about learning about this area and cultivating some new things with it. And so I think with that perspective, it can be great. But on Saturday, we do have Venus retrograde over the Sun. Sun rules your second house, so there could be some new things that you're cultivating from Saturday, or some new things that you can see that you actually enjoy and connect to when it comes to the finances, or what the finances actually give you. You connecting to what the finances actually give you, because of course, like, money is just a piece of paper. What is it actually providing? And so I think you can have a lot of awareness about this. You can really connect to that, and again, maybe a new beginning about really enjoying the things that are material or financial related in your life. And again, a new beginning could certainly be on a minor note involved with that over the weekend there. Then as we look at your work sector here, this is going to be seen by Jupiter, who does rule your sixth. When it comes to the routine and all this, there's a lot of reconsideration that you're doing. You do want to be very flexible and adaptive, as it's been important with Jupiter retrograde. This opposition up to Mercury does suggest that on Friday, you may need to do some balancing here with the work or routine if it's about your mind or your perspective on things. Seeing again both the possible and the practical when it comes to that area of life. Now, when it comes to your career, you got a lot of energy right now, and I think that's going to continue. You got Mars at the top of the chart in your 10th house of career. So good motivation, good drive. I would say certainly channel that energy if you've got it, or the directness, or even competitive spirit, not necessarily competing with anyone else, but competing with yourself, doing the best you can do and just striving for that excellence with anything career related, or again, just putting action towards big picture productive things in your life. Now, in terms of the relationships, this is seen by Saturn. Saturn's been in your 5th house. And so, as it has been over the past couple of years, it's been very important for you to get into the self-expression with your relationships. And even though the self-expression is feeling very limited, and maybe even the romance is feeling very limited for those of you romantically inclined, this is that Saturn is really helping you build this area for the long term. So when it comes to fun, playfulness, romance, creativity, and all this, you're really putting in the work, and the work is so that you can have long-term enjoyment, long-term romance, real fun. And if it's not romantic, maybe it's just that a lot of you are just getting into the more entertaining, fun, and playful side to all relationships. But it does take work with Saturn. And so I think as you're willing to take things slow and responsibly with all that normally easy, fun stuff, I think you can find that certainly constructively supporting your whole relationship sector. All right, so Cancers, that's the week in a nutshell. I would say certainly the emphasis being here on your 9th house, things as the week unfolds, more things being cultivated about that open mind, your belief systems, And again, maybe a bit of that adventurous spirit. And that's really where the new beginnings are around the corner. All right, so I hope you all have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your support. If you would like a personal reading, be sure to check out the link down below for that. But yeah, thanks again. Hope you guys have a fantastic one. And I'll see you all next time. Take care. Leos, welcome to your portion of the weekly forecast. So first, looking at your ruler, the sun, in the 8th house, it is a very deep time for a lot of you, at least very important, and I think valuable to go deep. You can see all the things that truly matter in life, connect to life in that deeper way, maybe connect to your relationships as well in that deeper way. And so all of this stuff you're uncovering as you do this acceptance, accepting these deeper dimensions of life and diving deep with them, even for some of you facing some fears and breaking some old patterns, is a very liberating time for you. And in fact, you're going to have a new moon here next week in the 8th house. So all of these, this sort of stage that you're setting this week and have been for the past week in this area, a lot of you are going to know some new things shaping up to where you do have that deeper, more vulnerable and open connection to life. Now, in terms of on Saturday, we do have that Venus-Sun conjunction. So on Saturday in particular, a lot of you could be maybe sprucing up the self-image, trying something new and different. That is, again, a greater reflection of what you truly are about and the deeper side of things. But when Venus goes over the ruler, we can be looking good, feeling good. And although she's retrograde, I think just being flexible and adaptive with the process, like if you are getting like, I don't know, a haircut or a makeover, just kind of be as flexible as you can, because when Venus is retrograde, or any planet's retrograde, it has that tinge of having to redo and restructure it. So having like a plan A, B, and C, and just being as flexible as you can with it, I think is great, for example. But all in all, I think anything that you can do that doesn't involve yourself, your self-image, a bit of beauty, even relationships and connection, just being flexible with the process and enjoying the process can be great on Saturday. Now, looking at the whole financial sector, this is seen by Mercury, who rules your 2nd house. A lot of you do have Jupiter retrograde in the 2nd, so you're reconsidering the whole financial stuff as you have been. So still a great week to do that. Anything that is involving finances is supposed to be redone right now. It's supposed to be restructured. But Mercury is in that T-square, so on Thursday and Friday, there might be a bit of challenge with this area. Again, maybe making some changes, seeing that right now it is a deep time, and it's about connecting to what truly matters with the whole financial material stuff of the 8th house, and then balancing that with a bit of the sensual, how you can have both the deep and the sensual material, connect to both the spiritual and the material. At the same time, the same potentials with that. Again, you're seeing the potentials with the finances, but balancing that with what really matters and connecting to the deep truth of things, I think can be fantastic. So looking at the work sector, this is seen by Venus, and so she is retrograde, so all this stuff involving your work it is really good to be trying some new things, different things with all this. And again, connecting to your work in open ways, vulnerable ways, your career and all this, really getting into the deeper side of it can be fantastic. And maybe on Saturday, with that Sun-Venus conjunction, a lot of you are gaining some new insight about your work, or starting something new in that department, or seeing a bit of, again, value and enjoyment and passion, probably, in regards to that work as well. Now, in terms of the relationship side of things, there's been a lot of past energy being released. You know, you get the South Node in the 7th house of relationships, so you're still breaking some past patterns, letting some past things go in this department, as it has been the case. But the moon will be transiting over there over the weekend, so that could be emphasizing it Saturday and Sunday, or actually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, around there, of just doing some releasing work to, again, free you up, because it really is the time for you to be cultivating your personal needs, your independence right now, and that's the transiting North Node in the 1st house. All right, so Leos, have a fantastic week. If you would like a personal look at your year ahead, be sure to get in touch for a personal reading using the link down in the comment section. But I hope you all have a fantastic one. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares, and I will see you all next time. Take care. Virgos, let's have a look at your weekly forecast. So first, looking at your ruler Mercury. Mercury's in the 7th house. A lot is being emphasized on relationships, which we'll look more at once we get to that segment of this reading. But yeah, very good here to be sharing ideas, learning about yourself through another, and perhaps even bringing in a bit of cooperation and tact and harmony in your life. Some of you might be involved with that. Quite literally in a relationship, or just in your general day-to-day interactions. And also, too, maybe some of you legal matters or contracts could be really emphasized at the moment. But whatever it is, I think having balance in your life, having a bit of cooperation in your life, and seeing how you can cultivate both your needs and the other person's needs to find that balance, you know, because the 1st house ruler in the 7th means you can be very direct and very, you know what you want, or you can really cultivate what you want in relationships, but at the same time, you've got that willingness to cooperate, work with another, and strike that balance there. So it's a great way of working with it, and really realizing that there really is no difference between what is actually good for us and what's good for relationships. Not everything that's good for us is good for our relationships, but what is actually good for us is what's good for our relationships, whatever that might mean for you personally. And I think that will be emphasized because Mercury is opposing up to Jupiter, you know, emphasizing some sort of balance involving both self and other this week, probably around Friday. And all the stuff that you are actually learning about yourself, because again, a lot of you for about the past 6 months have been feeling very independent, and there's been a lot of opportunity here for you to cultivate that independence or expand your horizons a bit with Jupiter in the 1st. But Jupiter is retrograde, so a lot of you are relearning and rethinking a lot of the things about what you want and who you are and where life is taking you. So as you continue to learn about yourself, like I said, it'll be probably mirrored in the whole relationship sphere. But that's exactly what you want to do is see both how you fit into relationships and how relationships fit into your life. And with that perspective, I think you can find a great balance here this week. Now, involving that Mercury, though, on Thursday and Friday, there will be that square. So anything that does involve a bit of clash, if you notice that, or uncomfortable energy or something with Pluto, I think you're transforming around Thursday and Friday, probably having to do with facing some things or accepting some things about either your health or your home life, family, or personal life stuff. And that's going to be Pluto, who's been really helping you transform this area. And so the more willing you are to dive deep with that area this week, I think you can find that to be very transformational. In other words, facing those fears, making those changes, although uncomfortable, if you are guided to do this week. All right, so that's the general forecast. In terms of your finances this week, this will be seen by Venus. Venus is retrograde in that 7th. So again, there might be some things you're involved with in relationships involving finances. But if it's not finances, maybe you're just seeing the true value of your relationships. But in either case, it could certainly be that through another or through others in your life, it could be relationship opportunities. Now, mind you, Venus is retrograde. So as it has been these past few weeks at this point, it's been very important for you to be flexible and adaptive with this area, to try new things. Not necessarily, do anything that's finalized with the financial stuff just yet, perhaps, if you're, guided to. But having a plan A, B, and C and all that, and just having a willingness to be flexible and adaptive with the whole financial stuff can be excellent. The Sun over Venus on Saturday does signify that there might be some new insight about some of this, some new values that you're gaining awareness of, or about maybe seeing what you truly do value, and maybe a bit of passion and fun and playfulness and creative energy involving those values of yours. Now, looking at the work sector, this will be emphasized by Mercury as well, your ruler. So when it comes to the day-to-day work, again, partnerships could be emphasized. But with that square, Thursday through Friday, a bit of clash maybe in the work sector with your career, something like that. But again, diving deep, making some changes, facing some fears, perhaps Thursday and Friday, can then bring some positive things, not only for you, but for your career and work as well. And then what you'll find is by Sunday, in fact, once Mercury goes over Uranus, you'll probably be feeling quite free-spirited actually on Sunday going into next week. And there might even be some positive changes that might come from some insights about your career, some new ideas about how you can implement your career in a bit more of a way that has more freedom in it, or is more of an expression of what you're about. So Uranus is all about change for freedom. And you may notice that on a minor, some of you major note, if you got personal transits involving this over the weekend on Sunday. All right. So in terms of the relationships, we pretty much covered it. You got all this concentration of energy in that 7th house. Even the 7th house ruler is in the 1st house. So there's, again, all this association going on between finding the balance between your relationships and you and your personal needs and others' needs. But certainly a week emphasizing this. I think you'll notice a lot more new beginnings involving relationships next week, because we're going to have a new moon in that 7th house. But things are certainly setting the stage this week. Thursday and Friday just be kind of cool with any communication or something like that with the square from Mercury. Saturday, maybe seeing some more things you value in relationships. And then on Sunday, maybe something new and different. Maybe some of those ideas I was talking about may come through a partnership, or you may actually do something new and different with the whole relationship sphere. You're just seeing the whole relationship sphere of your life in a completely new perspective, thinking outside the box with it on Sunday. All right. So Virgos, have a fantastic week. If you would like a personal look at your chart for the next year, be sure to get in touch for a reading. There's a link down in the comment section. But I hope you all have a fantastic one. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares. And I'll see you all next week. Take care. Libras, let's have a look at your weekly forecast. So first things first, your ruler is retrograde, Venus, and she's retrograde in your 6th house. There's a lot of concentration on your work sector, on your routine, and anything you do on a daily level. So very good there to continue to cultivate that area. You're probably going to notice some new beginnings with all this daily stuff next week, because we will have a new moon in your 6th. But this week, a lot of the stuff you're doing now is sort of setting the stage for what is those new beginnings around the corner. So again, with retrogrades, when a ruler is retrograde, it is important to be flexible and adaptive, as it will be for the next few months while she finishes her retrograde, and just trying new things, maybe with the work or routine stuff, but just in general, you know, just being flexible and seeing where life takes you. Now, in terms of the financial sector, this is seen by Mars, who is in your 2nd or 7th house of relationships. Which does emphasize that right now you could be maybe seeing financial opportunities or investment opportunities or something like that through your relationships. Or some of you are working on partnerships with finances or something like that. So the point here is you got a lot of direct energy and a lot of drive towards cultivating any partnerships or relationships at the moment. And that could certainly be a area in which you could be cultivating the financial material sector. Now, mind you, the material area is going through this limitation, or there's just, you know, heavier energy about it because Saturn's in your 2nd house of finances. But Saturn's really helping you build your financial security for the long term. So as it has been the past couple of years and really for about the next year, it is important to take the responsible approach with all this stuff and you know, saving and all this. And through the process, you could find that you do amass good financial and material security when you do approach things in that disciplined and pragmatic sort of manner. Although Saturn's not going to be emphasized this week, I want to mention that as a bigger picture. Now, in terms of your work, this is, again, very much emphasized for you with the daily work in particular. But Jupiter does also rule your 6th house, and he's been in your 12th. So a lot of you are working a bit behind the scenes, or you're finding that it's important to balance both having rest in your life or spiritual time out, as well as the daily stuff. And I think that's going to be emphasized this week because we are going to have that Mercury opposite Jupiter energy on Friday. So on that day, again, balancing the work and the rest. That I think could be very important, very much emphasized. Or, you know, bringing in a bit of tranquil energy into the work. You know, presence, meditation, all this stuff into your daily routine can certainly help facilitate what, again, is certainly cultivating with the whole work sector. And you could even gain some insights maybe about your work on Sunday when Mercury goes over Uranus, giving you the ability to think outside the box and really implement what has been so important for you these past many years, to have more freedom in your daily life, in your work and all this. And there could be some new insights going into next week facilitating that. Do be cool about anything work related. I would say Thursday and Friday, when we do have Mercury squaring up to Pluto and opposing Jupiter. So it's not suggesting anything in particular as much as it's important for you to maybe challenge yourself with, again, having that openness and depth with your work, or maybe restructure your work, face some fears with it or something like that. Yeah, that's important, is to see the deep side to it, make those changes, be willing to make the changes as best you can. And again, balance both the work and the rest, or the, you know, routine and that meditative behind the scenes energy of your life at the moment. Now, in terms of relationships, this is, again, very much emphasized for you with Mars in your 7th house. A lot of you, again, are very direct in your relationships at the moment, maybe motivated in this area. So yeah, that's a great, you know, force. Is a lot of you are finding your personal needs in your relationships, and how you can have both your personal needs and find harmony and cooperation and work with others, which can be excellent. But all one-to-one connections are a great source of motivation and drive, and you can find the energy to cultivate whatever it is you might be focused on cultivating in that sector. All right, so Libras, have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares. If you would like a personal reading, be sure to check out the comment section down below for the link to that. But I hope you all have a fantastic one, and I will see you all next time. Take care. Scorpio and Ophiuchus, welcome to your weekly forecast. So looking first at your ruler Mars. Mars is in your 6th house of your routine, your work, your daily activities. So anything on that routine level I think is a great source of motivation for you. Really good for personal growth and development, finding solutions to problems even, just bringing a bit more structure in your everyday life. So that's really very much being emphasized. Some of you even in your work, just really getting into your craft and developing that area as well. Now Saturn has been in your 1st, so as it has been over about the past year or two, it's been important for you to have that responsibility and assume responsibility in general in your life. And so not being emphasized this week, but as a general backdrop, I think remembering that you do have Saturn in your 1st house, building responsibility and maturity and patience and all this is still excellent for you. This week is no exception to that. Now, finances, this is seen by Jupiter and actually Saturn. Speaking of the Saturn is going to be going into your 2nd house. It's kind of dipping in there and dipping back out here over the next month. So it's kind of a prelude to what will be mostly in about a year when Saturn actually stays in your 2nd. But if there is anything in the financial sector that you can be disciplined with and patient with, or do the saving and more of this more grounded energy with it, it's all about self-limitation, right? Self-responsibility. A dollar saved is a dollar earned kind of thing when Saturn comes into the 2nd. And then what you'll notice is over the next few years, all this more disciplined approach you take with the finances will actually be helping you have good material security and savings and investments and all this that are more long-term in nature. All right, so that's that side of it, but also with the finances, Jupiter is retrograde, so as it has been already these past, what has it been, about a month at least? Jupiter's been retrograde, and a lot of you are maybe redoing the finances or rethinking that whole area, particularly about how it applies to your future or how it applies to your aspirations. And so continuing with that, but remembering a bit of balance, I think, around Friday when Mercury does oppose up to Jupiter. And, with essentially what you've got right now is you've got so much energy involving your self-expression, your creative side. This is where you're going to have a new moon, in fact, in your 5th house next week. All of that, more, enjoyable stuff, which is about your passions, your self-expression, balancing that with those aspirations. In other words, your aspirations need you to be doing the things that you're passionate about and enjoy. And so as you cultivate more of that creative self-expression, those passions, you're going to find that does directly contribute to these possibilities and future things. But, involving the finances, maybe it's that. Maybe it's looking to the future, redoing some things, restructuring it, so you can cultivate both the future possibilities as well as cultivating the things that you truly are passionate about and enjoy in life. But balance is the name of the game, regardless, around Friday, I think, when it comes to finances. All right, when we look at the work sector here, we've got Mars in your 6th house, like we said. So, yeah, good drive, good motivation for a lot of this. You got the North Node up at the top of the chart. So this whole year is all about doing some new things with your career, trying some new things, and just all in all, learning more about it. And I think the more willing you are to learn about your career in general, I think it's just a great way of working with this year and this week. Now, in terms of the relationships, so this is going to be seen by Venus. And so Venus is in the 5th house. And again, you get all this energy in the 5th. A lot of you are involved with like romance and more of the playful, creative energy in your relationships. And that's essentially what the 5th is about. So many things can be seen as romantic. In this context of what the 5th house symbolizes, it might be romance for some of you, but for all of you to a degree, it is about having that self-expression in your relationships, a bit of fun, playfulness, lightheartedness. And so that's really being cultivated, and I think you can maybe, continue to see the value of that with Venus retrograde and learn more about, again, what you're passionate about, what you enjoy, and that's directly contributing to those relationships there. Now, I do want to mention, speaking of all this 5th house stuff, when it does come to that self-expression, Thursday and Friday, bringing some extra attention on maybe the communication with that, or something like that. Maybe even some extra attention on the financial material stuff, because Pluto's been in your 2nd house. So finances and if it is anything on that self-expressive level, including romance, just being kind of cool with it, around Thursday and Friday, diving deep, facing some fears, making some changes maybe that you might be guided to make involving that area. But by Sunday, Mercury going over Uranus does suggest that the week does end with probably a newfound sense of freedom with your self-expression. And that's really what Uranus has been helping you do over the past 5 years, is really access. Actually, it's been more than that, hasn't it? It's been 7 years at this point. But Uranus is helping you express who you truly are and cultivate the things that are an expression of what you're truly about. So you could gain some new insight about this, or maybe trying something new in the creative realm, or self-expressive realm, or romantic realm on Sunday, and that could be certainly setting the stage for going into next week. All right, so Scorpion Ophiuchus, that's this week. Generally, I would say certainly the emphasis is on that 5th house and on your 6th house. So both the self-expression, fun, playfulness, as well as getting into the work, the routine, finding those solutions and working in the nitty-gritty and the pragmatic side of life can be excellent right now at the moment. So I hope you all have a fantastic week. If you'd like a personal reading looking at how these planets are configured for you personally for the next 12 months, be sure to get in touch for that. There's a link down in the comment section. But I wish you all the very best. Thank you again for all of your support, and I will see you all next time. Take care. Welcome, Sagittarius, to your weekly forecast. So let's first have a look at your ruler Jupiter, who is retrograde again. So a lot of you are still, going through this rehashing period. A lot of it is in regards to your career and your work, which we'll look at. But that's what you want to be doing when your ruler is retrograde, and we'll be up and through early June. Of just being flexible and adaptive, trying some new things, and going with the flow as best as you can. Now, Saturn has recently started to slightly go into your sign. Isn't going to quite go in there until about a year from now. But I think you may start to notice this energy, though, because it's a blend usually for about the next couple months of really getting into the responsible side of life. Some of you are maybe considering some new responsibilities. Anything that does require patience and persistence, all this more grounded and mature energy is really coming into your personality slowly but steadily over these next few years there. Now, in terms of Pluto will be in that T-square this week from your first house. So Thursday through Friday, particularly Thursday, If you do feel a bit of that clash I was talking about, maybe some of it is involving that career. Maybe some of it's involving the personal life, such as home, family, or health. Just working with it as constructively as you can. Again, diving deep and transforming yourself has really been the name of the game with Pluto in the first. You've been going over these many years, you've been going through this metamorphosis of stripping away old ideas of self and old patterns and all this. That's really freeing you up. So diving deep with yourself and facing fears and making those transformations and changes that you feel will benefit your career and your personal life can be fantastic this week. Now, in terms of the financial sector, this is going to be seen by Saturn. Saturn rules your second. He's been in your 12th house for the past couple years, and this is the house of uncertainty. It's the house of cloudiness and not really seeing things very clearly. Or some of you are making money and cultivating your finances in a more receptive way, and that's exactly what you want to do when Saturn's in the 12th is let go and detach, or maybe do some things that are more giving in nature, and that could be a source of income or something like that. But the important thing here is that Saturn is slightly leaving the 12th. So maybe you've started to notice in a very general sense, because Saturn's a very slow-moving planet, but in a general sense over this time period, maybe just a little bit more clarity this past week or two involving the financial stuff, where you're starting to get a bit more motivated by it or driven by it. But again, I think that'll be emphasized in about a year once Saturn goes into that first. But with whatever insight, clarity, or motivation you do get involving the financial stuff, I think it's a great week, as it is for about the next couple months to implement and integrate. Now, in terms of the work sector, this is Venus and Mercury. Venus ruling your 6th house. He's down here at the bottom. This is really where there's a lot of emphasis is on your personal life stuff right now. This is really good for you to get in good health right now. Maybe reflect on some things from the past. There's a lot of nostalgic energy. You have some new beginnings actually about this new understanding about your past and your roots. Some of you are really getting into things like your home and your family life as well. So I think it's great to be cultivating that. And as you're cultivating this personal stuff and your roots and your foundations here and this watery stuff in life, you're going to find that that does directly contribute to your career and your productive life. And I think particularly on Friday, when Mercury opposes Jupiter, just having a bit of balance with both the personal and the productive can be emphasized, or at least important there. And again, challenging yourself with whatever changes you may feel like you want to make, like I was talking about before, involving the work sector. But with Sunday, actually Saturday and Sunday, with those two conjunctions I was talking about, those new beginnings, there can be some new insights, maybe on Sunday, some unique and different things you could be cultivating with your career, with your work, and even with Venus over the Sun, maybe something that you're still reconsidering and relearning. Venus is retrograde, so a lot of you are redoing the work, the routine, and all this, and that's great. So on Saturday, there could be some sort of new insight, some new passion, or energy to cultivate some of these things that you're redoing or rehashing, involving the work and routine as well. All right, so that's the work sector in terms of your relationships. This is also seen by Mercury, so a bit of clash here Thursday and Friday with that T-square involving Mercury, involving your relationships, maybe open communication, openness, vulnerability in relationships, that kind of thing. I think can be important to challenge yourself with, or whatever it is you're guided to do there. But by Sunday, when Mercury goes over Uranus, there might be something new and different or unexpected going on with relationships, or you could just want to mix up the routine with them, or you're just gaining a whole new perspective and seeing things in a whole new way involving that sector, which can be maybe exciting, or at the very least just mixing some things up for you to really cultivate this area in a way that's more of an expression of what you're truly about. Have more freedom in this area. So freedom in relationships is really the emphasis when the 7th house ruler goes over Uranus, as will be the case on Sunday. All right, so Sagittarius, hope you all have a fantastic week. I hope this was helpful. Let me know what you think about the new format down in the comment section. But I wish you all the very best. If you'd like a personal reading, be sure to get in touch for that. There's a link down in the comment section. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares. And I will see you all next time. Take care. Capricorns, let's have a look at your weekly forecast here. So, actually, you know what? I'm going to do this again. I need to write this down. Capricorns, all right, let's have a look at this weekly forecast. So first, your ruler Saturn, as a general backdrop, you know, he's still in your 11th house. So it's still a great time for you to be cultivating your future aspirations. And some of you may be connecting to community or your network circles. That's been the emphasis over the past couple of weeks, past couple of years, but particularly emphasizing your future hopes and wishes and cultivating a bit of that future perspective on things and whatever else you might strive for the future. Now, mind you, your ruler is slowly inching into Sagittarius, so as we go through about the next month or two, he's going to go in there and then he's going to go retrograde. So this is your 12th house, which means that, which you'll notice mostly in about a year, but you might get a bit of a feel for this now, is that Saturn's going to help you really get into getting more tranquility in your life, essentially. Maybe working behind the scenes, or you're just getting more in touch with yourself psychologically and spiritually, or more, just really going for the more tranquil side to things. So if you are inclined towards that over these next couple months, I think that can be a great prelude to what will be a major emphasis of your life, starting in about a year once your ruler Saturn goes into Sag for about a 2.5 to 3 year time period. All right, so anyways, though, I would say certainly great for your aspirations, and now maybe just bring in a bit of that tranquility there in your life. Now, another area that's really emphasized for you is your 3rd house of your practical mind and learning, and even some of you business or trade. There's a lot of emphasis in your 3rd house. So you're going to have a new moon here next week, but this week, maybe some new things, some new ideas, about what you're learning about communication, about the practical stuff. Some of you connecting with your peers or your siblings, things like this, community, neighbors. But whatever it is, I think it's an excellent week to continue to focus on this area. And like I said, all the seeds you're planting this week with it, you'll start to notice a lot of the new things shaping up next week and onward after that new moon in that department. So let's go ahead and look at this in terms of the financial sector. Again, Saturn does rule your 2nd house as well. So your finances have all been future oriented. It's all about this more 11th house stuff of possibilities and all this. But Saturn going into the 12th, this is inching into an area that's more about letting go and surrendering this area. And I know that's not natural for the financial planet to be in the 12th house, because finances are the things we strive for and we cultivate. But in the 12th, it's really helping us let go, find peace with it, surrender it, and understand that things do come in timing, in divine timing, if you will. And if the mind gets too caught up with it, it can create confusion or doubt, things like that. But again, it's more of a spiritual process, and your spiritual process is involving the financial sector. It's like it's through the financial sector that you're really cultivating this spiritual development with it. It could mean for some of you too that you can gain income from more receptive things like helping others, psychology work or spiritual work, things like this. Certainly possible, but again, it's not quite emphasized. I think that'll be more so in about a year once Saturn goes in there. But if you are feeling confusion or uncertainty about this area, this would explain it, and it's more about a spiritual process there, or finding more receptive ways of getting things done in that department, and again, connecting to that flow of life. Now, in terms of the work sector, we do have a lot of emphasis here for you. Mercury and Venus are all in a lot of aspects this week. Thursday and Friday, maybe with that routine, maybe there's a bit of clash or something with that T-square with Mercury. So just being cool with that, again, challenging yourself, maybe making some changes with the work or routine you may find constructive. With all the stuff you're doing on a practical level right now, I think continuing to reconsider possibilities and potentials. And on Friday in particular, knowing that, yes, there's possibilities with the work, and there's also the practical. And I think doing both can be a great way of working with that. All right. And then, let's see, Mercury. Yeah. So then on Sunday, when Mercury goes over Uranus, a lot of you will likely have some new insights about your work. Thinking outside the box, doing something new and different could certainly be the case going into next week. And on Saturday, with Venus retrograde, all this career stuff and public stuff, that whatever it is in your life that's like career related, this is all going through a rehash, a reconsideration, a redoing. And that's what you want to do with Venus retrograde, is continue to be flexible and adaptive when it comes to the whole career stuff. And with the conjunction on Saturday, maybe seeing where there might be some new insight about your career. It can be passionate or creative, or you're really getting into that self-expressive quality with it. But it can be something new that's giving you energy and passion to cultivate that career life. All right, so that's the weekend, really emphasizing that area. But leading up to it, Thursday, Friday, I think just being cool with it, with that T-square, as I was saying. Now, the relationship sector, this is all seen by the moon for you. So we are entering into this week in the third quarter phase, which means it could be an active time in relationships, or you may want to challenge yourself in this area, set some intentions, take some steps in this area where you have to kind of will yourself to do that. But then as we go through the rest of the week, particularly the second half, this energy starts to die down. And as it is in the cyclical nature of the moon, we're at the ending of the last lunar cycle. It's a more receptive time for relationships. It's more of a time of rest and balance and inner work. And then once you have the new moon next week and onward, you'll start to notice a lot of new things may be shifting, or just more energy in the whole relationship department for you moving forward there. All right, so Capricorns, hope you all have a fantastic week. If you'd like a personal reading looking at how these planets are configured for you personally for the next year, be sure to get in touch for that. There's a link down in the comment section. But I wish you all the very best. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares. And I will see you all next time. Take care. All right, Aquarius, let's have a look at your weekly forecast. So first looking at yourself here this week, the general forecast, you do have a lot of energy in your first house, as you have had, in a general sense. You got the South Node transiting here, you got Neptune transiting here. So it's a lot of old aspects of self and perspectives of self and personal needs stuff that is being released at the moment. It's freeing you up as you're releasing all this personal stuff, personal identification, concepts of self, all this kind of stuff that may or may not be unhealthy for you in your life. But Neptune here also has been blurring the lines in terms of who you are, what you're about, and all this in a much larger sense over the past like 7 years. But that is also helping you connect to the real core and the real truth of what you're truly about. Now, in terms of this whole productive stuff, you've had Saturn in your 10th house. Some of you might be getting a bit of a break from more of the responsibility stuff in your career, because that's really been emphasized, and Saturn is inching his way out of that 10th house. Some of you might be taking more seriously now these next couple months, while Saturn's in the 11th, more of your future things, your future hopes and wishes, your aspirations. Some of you may be getting involved with your network circles, friends, or community. So that could be a slight change, but again, Saturn's a very slow-moving planet, so it still very much is about responsibility with your work, but I think also starting to consider more of the aspirations and future things and how you can take some of that seriously moving forward. Now, in terms of your finances, this week we've got a lot of emphasis in your financial sector. You got all these planets here. You're going to have fundamentally a new beginning next week involving the financial material stuff. But this week, there's a lot of things setting the stage for that. So one is that on Thursday and Friday, that Mercury, like I was saying, is forming that T-square. So anything involving finances, just being cool with it Thursday and Friday, maybe challenging yourself there, facing some fears maybe, and balancing the fact that even though there is a very self-reliant time, that's what the second house is about, finances, self-reliance, there's this whole stuff about others' resources and shared resources that a lot of you are having to balance as well. So Friday, I think in particular, just kind of balancing your resources and others' resources, and whatever that might mean for you personally, or for others, it's getting into the deeper, raw truth of life. While it is great to be connected to the material, it's also important to be connecting to what really matters in life beyond the material realm, and I think striking that balance can be excellent around Friday. So with that, I think by the weekend on Sunday, when Mercury goes over Uranus, a lot of you might have some new ideas or might be inspired by something in the financial sector, but that, again, I think will be setting the stage for the new beginnings around the corner. So in terms of the work sector, this is going to be highlighting this Moon and Mars. So in terms of your routine, particularly coming into the week, I think it can be a very active time, maybe with your routine or your work, and I think challenging yourself there. But as the week unfolds, probably more of the receptive energies. It's because your 6th house ruler, your work ruler, is the moon. There's a cycle with it, a monthly cycle. And at the end of the week, we're coming up to the ending of that cycle, which is more about rest and going within and resetting yourself for what will also be new beginnings, generally speaking, with your work next week. Now, in terms of Mars, who does rule your 10th house of career, he's in the 3rd. So it is really, really good to be maybe doing some things involving communication or writing or learning, stuff like that, involving your career. And so anything that you've been motivated towards about learning or writing or reading or something like that, or communicating with that, I think it's fantastic. That's a great source of motivation and drive for you with Mars in the 3rd. So relationships, it really is the life path for you this year as it was last year. There's a lot of new things to be learning about them. And that's exactly what you want to do. Just continue to learn, be adaptive, be flexible when it comes to all this one-to-one connection stuff. And you're going to find that that's continuing to unfold as we go through the year. On a minor note, this Saturday, there could be something maybe different. Let's say enjoyable. Venus is going to go over the sun, the ruler of your 7th house. So yeah, maybe enjoying something there, connecting on that level. It might be a whole rehashing, reconsideration process of the whole thing, because Venus is retrograde, but still, I think being grateful for who you have in your life, enjoying your relationships, connecting on a more connected level, enjoyable level, cooperative level, can be fantastic on Saturday. All right, so Aquarius, that's the week in a nutshell. If you do have any questions, feel free to comment down below. I'll do my best to answer them. If you'd like a personal reading, there's also a link in the comment section for that. But I hope you all have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares of these videos. And I will see you all next time. Take care. Pisces, let's have a look at your weekly forecast. So first things first, your ruler Jupiter is in your 7th house of relationships. We'll look at the relationships in more detail here in just a moment, but this really has been the major theme. And there's so much energy in your 1st house, though, that, and by the way, happy birthday for those of you who have your birthdays this week. But yeah, for all of you, there's all this personal awareness and a really good time for taking actions, starting some new things with your goals and all this. You got some good energy to do this. Now, a lot of the new beginnings involving you and where you're headed and your life path, I think you'll notice next week. Next week, we're going to have a new moon in your sign, but a lot of the things this week could certainly be setting the stage for that. So with all this 1st house, self-energy emphasized, awareness of self, personal needs being strong. Again, there's this whole relationship dynamic. So I think balance is particularly important, as it has been, but probably around Friday when Mercury opposes up to Jupiter here, of striking the balance between self and other in your relationship and your personal needs and others' needs, and finding a way to cooperate and work harmoniously there. Because, you know, you're really finding yourself through relationships with your ruler in the 7th. And all the stuff you're learning about relationships is helping you learn more about yourself. And all the stuff you're learning about yourself is helping you learn about your relationships and all this. So definitely a synergy here. Balance is key. And just being flexible and adaptive in general in your life with your ruler retrograde at the moment. So those are the key areas involving yourself. In terms of your finances this week, you got Mars in your 2nd house. A lot of you are very driven and direct towards cultivating your finances at the moment. Can be a great source of energy and motivation. And through that energy, as you build it, you can find that it is gaining energy, and there can be some things you can really cultivate and go after what you want here, but taking the actions to go after what you want when it comes to the finances, because Mars does require action, does require intention, and some of that initiation to get it moving. All right, in terms of the work sector, this is the North Node in your 6th house. You know, last year and this year is an excellent time for you to be learning more about your work, your craft, your routine, and all this daily stuff. So great to just continue to learn about that this week. You do have Saturn inching into your 10th house. So a lot of you are finding that when it comes to the career and a productive life, maybe there's some new responsibilities here. Maybe you're feeling like working hard, or some things you can work hard with or patiently with when it comes to the career. So over the next couple months, while Saturn goes in there and then goes retrograde real quick, I think you'll find that these next couple months are great for patience, responsibility, and a long-term perspective in your career that when you implement, you could certainly see some things cultivating down the road. It's about long-term gains with it versus short-term gains with Saturn. All right, now in terms of the relationship, again, this area is really very much being emphasized for you with Jupiter there. There's a lot of opportunity still with your relationships, you know. It's just that there's this whole reconsideration. So know that there is, but just continue to be flexible and adaptive in this area. With that opposition up to Mercury, as Mercury does rule your 7th, you know, I think around Thursday and Friday with the T-square, just being kind of cool when it comes to the relationship stuff. You know, openness and vulnerability, like I was saying in the general reading, could be very good in relationships, or making some changes with yourself and your perspective, maybe facing some fears involving that, can be important with Thursday and Friday in particular. But by the week's end on Sunday, Mercury going over Uranus does signify there could be something new and different involving relationships taking you into next week, or maybe you want more freedom in your relationships. Maybe it's just a freeing day there. And that could be something new and different, and perhaps even exciting as well. All right, so Pisces, have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link down in the comment section for that. But I wish you all the very best. Thank you again, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.